Hi everybody and welcome to the Millennial Revolt, an independent political talk show that seeks to bring a different narrative than the stale one we have going on right now in the mainstream media. So today we are going to be talking about Erdogan again, because he has been making a lot of bombastic statements and has been saying a lot of things as his relationship with the Netherlands and Germany and a lot of other EU countries continues to deteriorate. So there's a lot going on. There's so much to talk about, so let's just jump right into it. This whole spat happened because Turkish ministers were trying to campaign for a referendum that was coming up in Turkey in April that would expand the powers of the executive branch, basically giving Erdogan dictatorial powers. He would have more control over the judicial system and he would have more control over their parliament, making them null and void because he can appoint ministers, he can fire people. We've already seen what Erdogan has been doing over the last couple of months since the coup, whether it was real or it was not. We've seen what happened. Journalists have been arrested. 300 people has died. There was a huge purge within the military. So all of this has been happening, and this has been the lead up to what has happened in the Netherlands. Now, Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Cavusoglu has claimed there is no difference in the Netherlands between liberal and fascist politicians. Now, his comments come after the Dutch PM Mark Rutte has beaten Geert Wilders in the Dutch elections. Now, there's a couple of things that you can take out of the Dutch elections. Yes, Mark Rutte won, but his party has lost seats. Geert Wilders' party is the second strongest party in the Netherlands, and the labor movement has utterly collapsed. So there's a lot that people who do support these nationalist parties do have to be proud of. This is not populism has lost. No, it's only building, it's getting stronger, and if Turkey keeps making statements like this, it's only going to fuel more people getting angry. So lately, the government of Erdogan as well as his foreign ministers have continued to make very out there statements, still going with the Nazis and fascists, and not willing to basically come to the table with their European partners because Turkey is still trying to enter the European Union. In a statement on Thursday, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said that the EU's new ban on headscarves in the workplace would launch a struggle between the cross and the crescent. He said that where is the liberty of religion? They have commenced a struggle between the cross and the crescent. There is no other explanation for this. I'm saying this clearly. Europe is heading towards the days just before World War II. He continued to say that the European Union's court, the European Court of Justice, my esteemed brothers, have started a crusade struggle against the crescent, which would be more incendiary. Jihad and Islamist groups perpetually accuse Western powers of conducting another quote-unquote crusade against Muslims. He said, "Shame on the EU. Down with your European principles, values, and justice." He also said on Wednesday that the spirit of fascism is roaming the streets of Europe, comparing the treatment of Muslims to how the Nazis treated the Jews. And there is no comparison to how the Nazis treated the Jews, because Jews weren't blowing themselves up in the name of their religion, screaming God is great while they were doing that. They weren't killing people in the weird obsession of creating a caliphate so their religion can rule over the world. Jewish people aren't doing that, so the comparison isn't even close. There is a real thing as Islamic terrorism, and it's very scary for a lot of people when you have people who believe that they are justified in killing another person who doesn't follow their religion. There is something wrong with that. There is something wrong with that thinking. There is no comparison between the way the Nationalist Socialist Party treated the Jews who lived in Germany at the time to the way European countries are treating Muslims. There's no comparison at all. And to try to make that comparison to fit your twisted narrative of how you see the world is very disingenuous indeed. Went on to say that the fear of the Turks is beginning to appear. The fear of Islam is beginning to appear. They are even afraid of migrants looking for asylum. They fear everything which originates elsewhere. They are hostile to everything that is not from them. Now, there is partial truth to what he's saying, and I'm going to explain. People are genuinely kind of wary to things that they don't understand. You're always kind of cautious when you kind of see people you don't know or things like that. But the problem is, people fear Islam, fear this religion, because of what people have done in their name. And you can have people going around saying, oh, well, that has nothing to do with Islam. If the person who's killing themselves and are killing other people saying that they're doing it for a particular religion, I'm going to tend to believe the person who's gunning down people, who is mowing down people with trucks, who is crashing planes into buildings, who are blowing up airports. I'm going to tend to believe them versus the person who is saying that it has nothing to do with a particular religion. They say that they fear migrants looking for them. Well, a lot of these people aren't genuine refugees. A lot of these people are migrants, and the Geneva Convention says, first safe country that you arrive in is the country in where you apply asylum to. It does not say that you have the right to go to multiple European countries, to travel all the way to Germany because they have better benefits, or to go to Sweden because they have better benefits. That is not what it says. And to anyone who is trying to tell you that is lying. If you're traipsing across Europe to get to Germany because Germany is giving people quote unquote benefits, then you are a migrant and no one has to take you in. I've said this before in a previous video. The main job of any elected official is to protect the people who has elected you. You do not have a responsibility to the outside world except to the people within your country or within your state. You have the responsibility to protect them. You don't have the responsibility to try to protect anyone else. You are not elected for the world. You are elected in that county, in that state, in that country. You have a duty to protect them. You don't have a duty to let in millions of people into your country because they're claiming asylum. Kasakoglu went on to make some very threatening comments, in my opinion, saying that he predicted that holy wars would soon begin in Europe. Kasakoglu said that now that the elections is over in the Netherlands, when you look at the many parties, you see there is no difference between the Social Democrats and the fascist Guild-Wielders. All have the same mentality. Where will you go? Where are you taking Europe? You have begun to collapse Europe. You are dragging Europe into the abyss. Holy wars will soon begin in Europe. He said that they killed each other hundreds of years ago because they were of different faiths. But they learned a lesson from this and set up the European Union and the Council of Europe. To me, it makes it seem like he's saying that, maybe I could just be interpreting this wrong, but he makes it seem like he's saying that the Muslims who are in society aren't going to integrate into society in which they came in, the migrants, or which they are born into. That they view themselves as Muslims first before whether they're British or they're German or they're Dutch or they're fucking Swedish, before anything else. And that is going to create a clash in the future. That is going to create a problem because people are going to get tired of it. And the thing about it is that Europe has a very bloody history. People are going to be nice and nice and nice until they're not nice anymore. And that's why you see a lot of these nationalistic populist parties rising, because there is a lot of social alienation that's happening, not with just the migrants and the refugees and the third and fourth generation of people who have come into these societies who haven't assimilated. It's also happening with the native population. And the problem is that instead of trying to fix the problem, what you see is a lot of the governments that are in power, they are trying to gloss over the issues or are trying to make it seem like none of these issues are real. And if you don't deal with these problems, if you don't deal with this, then you're actually going to have a problem. You're going to see more of this alienation. You're going to see more of these populist parties rising. But if you read some of their platform, it's not far out there. I would consider it center of right, if anything else, especially Front National. Their platform is more right of center, if anything, and it's not far right. And That is the problem with a lot of these European governments. They tend to label everyone far right and not actually listening to what they're saying and not why they're saying it. People are supporting these parties for a reason. They're supporting these parties because they feel that something is fundamentally wrong in society. And it's not only the native population. The immigrants feel that there's something wrong in society as well. They're not assimilating. They're not learning the language. They don't feel like they're a part of the society, so they're going to regress. They're going to stay in their segregated communities. They're not going to integrate into society. So all of this has to be addressed. And if you have the elected governments that are in power who just want to keep the status quo going, then you're going to have these splits in society. You're going to continue to have these problems. You also have a situation where you have the present Turkish government, which is the Erdogan government, which is hostile to European countries, a European Union in which Turkey is trying to join. It openly tells its citizens living in Europe that they should never integrate and always remain Turks, that they should always keep their Turkish identity, that they are not Dutch, that they are not German, that they are not Swedish, that they are just Turks, that they are not immigrants, but they are colonialists. Erdogan tells them not to have 3 children, but to aim for 5, that they should basically breed the Europeans out of existence. Now, how can you have positive relations and how can you have good relations with a country that is telling people this? It's like you have ticking time bombs in your society waiting to explode. And no country should have to feel like they're living in threat with people they've invited into their society. That is not right and that is not okay. European countries, I believe, should cut off relations with Turkey, refuse any visas, and not allow any dual nationals outside of the country to return unless they renounce their Turkish nationality. Because the way the Erdogan government is going, it doesn't bode well for the rest of Europe in the future, and it doesn't bode well for Turkey. You turned a mostly secular society that had a sort of Western style democracy into basically a dictatorship in the span of a couple of years. So I'm definitely going to keep you guys updated on what is going on. I'm the Millennial Revolt. Thank you guys so much for watching, and you have a wonderful day. Bye.